heart of paradise, where dreams of athletic glory took flight, there existed a sacred bond. A bond between a coach and his young athletes. And for nearly 2 decades, that bond was held by a man named Dwayne Yuen, a name once synonymous with youth basketball in Honolulu. But what if that very symbol of trust, that sound meant to inspire, masked a predator lurking in plain sight? What if the one entrusted with shaping young lives, Dwayne Yuen, was systematically exploiting and terrorizing them, piece by agonizing piece? This is the story of a betrayal so profound it left scars that run for life. This is the story of how Dwayne Yuen, a man who held the dreams of countless young girls in his hands, was a monster behind the whistle. This is a story that demands to be told. Dwayne Yuen's reign of terror wasn't a sudden outburst. It was a meticulously crafted campaign of psychological manipulation, spanning almost 20 years. From at least 2005 to February 2023, he honed a chilling playbook, targeting the most vulnerable among his middle and high school-aged players. He sought out those with cracks in their armor, girls grappling with financial or family stressors. He saw their vulnerabilities not as a call for help, but as an opportunity for control. According to court documents, Yuen would shower them with elaborate gifts, buy them food, and spend inappropriate amounts of time alone with them. These weren't acts of kindness, they were threads in a web of grooming, designed to isolate and ensnare. Once trust was established, the true horror began. Sexual conversations, explicit images, coerced and forced sexual contact with victims as young as 15. And when they resisted, when they tried to break free, Dwayne Yuen's tactics turned terrifyingly dark. He would use dozens of anonymous phone numbers, sending thousands of harassing messages, sometimes up to 100 a day, often filled with graphic sexual content. A relentless barrage designed to break their spirit. He threatened to ruin their reputations, to destroy their burgeoning basketball careers. He threatened at least one victim with rape and death and physically assaulted another who dared to resist. For economically vulnerable players, he would even pay them to send him explicit images. This wasn't just abuse, it was a systematic dismantling of their self-worth, their safety, their very future. Dwayne Yuen coached across Oahu, at prestigious private schools like Punahou, at public institutions like Mamalani Elementary, and through various private club teams. He moved freely, a wolf in sheep's clothing, gaining access to countless children. But what's truly horrifying is that the whispers about Dwayne Yuen began almost as soon as he started. As early as 2004, within just his 3rd year at Punahou School, complaints from students began to surface. Court documents reveal that at least 4 players reported sexual abuse and grooming by Dwayne Yuen to the school administration. Despite these reports, the abuse continued. In 2006, at least 2 of his players were forced to obtain 3-year restraining orders against Dwayne Yuen, detailing the sexual harassment and threats they endured. These were not whispers, these were documented screams for help. Hawaii law is clear: employees in public and private schools who suspect child abuse must report it to Child Welfare Services or the police. According to a Department of Justice memo, Punahou did ban Yuen from campus in 2005 and again in 2017. But these measures, tragically, were not enough. A victim, Shaunale Kehu, who obtained a restraining order against Yuen in 2006, stated that her own head coach at Punahou, who was aware of the order, still encouraged players to attend Yuen's off-campus training sessions. For nearly 2 decades, a predator operated despite the warnings. The system, designed to protect, had, in too many ways, failed. Dwayne Yuen continued coaching youth basketball until 2022, for years after he resigned from teaching when the Department of Education finally began investigating. But the shadows of the past, no matter how deep, cannot hide forever. In February 2023, the long arm of federal justice finally reached Dwayne Yuen. The FBI, as part of its nationwide Project Safe Childhood initiative, arrested him. He has been detained ever since.
A former high school basketball coach will spend nearly 34 years behind bars after admitting to a pattern of sexual abuse and harassment that spanned decades. The crimes involving multiple girls that he coached on Oahu, and today, victims confronted him in the courtroom. Kimber Collins joins us live outside the federal courthouse with the decision as well as reaction. Kimber?
Yes, Jai, the courtroom was very tense this afternoon as U.S. District Judge Seabright handed down the sentencing for former Punahou basketball coach Dwayne Yuen. Seabright going as far as to calling him a predator with a whistle who abused his position to gain control over these women. And the victims say that they have waited way too long for justice. So let's take you back to what happened. Yuen pled guilty last December to 12 federal counts, including sex trafficking, coercion, and producing child sexual abuse material. Today, he was sentenced to 5 counts. Prosecutors say his victims were middle and high school girls he coached between 2005 and 2023. Now, inside the courtroom today, the judge also called his actions explicit and disturbing before sentencing him again to nearly 34 years in prison, followed by life on probation, and he must register as a sex offender. We spoke to one of his victims before the sentencing was handed down today.
You could say a sense of relief. You know, it was a long time coming. About 15, 20 years ago, you could never see this day. And so, yeah, I'm relieved that we're here. Just being in this position is unfortunate, but I'm glad that we were able to make some changes with it, you know, and that we have some really good warriors on our side. And, you know, if it was anybody else, who knows what would have happened.
Several victims told the court they still live with the trauma of Yuen and want this case to push schools to act faster when allegations surface. Now, again, in the courtroom today, 4 victims either had letters or spoke to Yuen directly. It was a very powerful day here at the courthouse, and we will have more on the sentencing and the story of strength from these women tonight at 6. Reporting live at the federal courthouse, Kimber Collins, Island News.
We're hearing from one of the victims of former youth basketball coach Dwayne Yuen, who pleaded guilty yesterday to 12 offenses that could put him behind bars for the rest of his lateral life. The counts include sex trafficking, coercion and enticement, child pornography, exploitation, and harassment. Ben Gutierrez has more.
I told them it was the best Christmas present ever.
MMA champ Elimale McFarland says she found out from agents on the case that her old Punahou basketball coach and tormentor, Dwayne Yuen, was finally pleading guilty after preying on middle and high school girls for nearly 2 decades.
I kind of have always said that just the fact that he even got caught and that he got arrested, and, you know, watching him get arrested by the feds and watching him walk away in those handcuffs was very, very validating for me.
Federal prosecutors say Yuen had 10 victims from 2005 to 2023, and all of them were athletes that he coached at various schools or on private club teams. The feds say he had physical contact with several of them. Others were subject to anonymous and obscene communications.
I do know some of them, and we do keep in touch. Like, we were basically forged in the fire, and we have each other's backs.
The 51-year-old has been detained since his arrest last year. The U.S. attorney says Yuen could face up to 144 years in prison. Punahou School also settled numerous civil lawsuits this past summer. McFarland's was one of them. She hopes she'll have a chance to speak to him at his sentencing in April.
I would tell him that every single day that he has to wake up in a cell and live the next X amount of years in that cell, to remember me, because I'm the one that put him there. Time's up.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
In December 2024, facing overwhelming evidence, Dwayne Yuen pleaded guilty to all 11 federal charges against him. Sex trafficking of a minor, coercing and enticing sexual activity, producing and possessing child pornography, and harassment offenses. The full scope of his depravity was laid bare. Then came August 15, 2025. The day of reckoning. Senior United States District Judge J. Michael Seabright presided over the sentencing in Honolulu. His words cut through the courtroom, echoing the pain and anger of a community betrayed. Judge Seabright characterized Dwayne Yuen as a predator with a whistle who groomed and preyed on his victims over and over again. He was truly relentless in the number of victims he targeted and how he treated each of them. The judge emphasized that the scars clearly run deep and remain for life. But the true power of this story lies not just in the conviction of a predator, but in the extraordinary courage of his victims. For years, they carried the weight of their trauma in silence. But at the sentencing, their voices, once silenced by fear, rang out with a profound sense of relief. One of the victims, former Punahou basketball standout Shonale Kehu, spoke in person, describing how Dwayne Yuen learned all the things that mattered to her, then held them hostage. She called him a fucking monster who preys on the innocence of a child. Her bravery, and that of others who spoke, marked a turning point, a step towards healing. Their courage extends beyond their own healing. They explicitly stated their desire for this case to push schools to act faster when allegations surface. A powerful call for systemic change, born from their own prolonged suffering. The Dwayne Yuen case is a stark, painful lesson for the entire community of Honolulu. It exposes the critical need for robust child protection policies in every youth-serving organization. Thorough background checks, ongoing monitoring, and mandatory training for every adult in a position of trust. We must foster environments where children feel empowered and safe to report abuse, knowing they will be believed and protected. The fight against child exploitation transcends borders and requires collaboration from all of us. If you see something, if you hear something, if you suspect something, report it. Your vigilance can be the shield that protects the innocent, the voice that breaks the silence, and the light that banishes the shadows. This is the one of many truths we will pull from the shadows. The stories hidden in dusty archives and whispered in hushed corners of our history. We've shown you a predator who hid in plain sight, and the systemic failures that allowed his reign of terror to continue. But there are countless other cases, other tragedies, other unsung heroes whose stories demand to be told. Your engagement is the force that fuels our work. If this report has resonated with you, if it has opened your eyes to the secrets lurking in the archives, then we invite you to become part of our mission. Subscribe to Truth in Shadows, the State Crime Archives, hit the notification bell, and join our community of truth seekers. Share this video to spread awareness and ensure this story, and others like it, are never forgotten. In the quest for a safer future, the greatest power lies in the light we choose to shine on the past. Thank you for watching.